hopefully now you've got your master resume all done. From that master resume, you've built a good competitive resume. You've had someone review that for you, so you know that you don't have any typos, there's no problems with it. So now we're ready to face the online job application. And it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge for several reasons. First of all, we need to talk about the importance of keywords. And I'm going to read the third bullet on this slide for you. And it says, resumes containing the most keywords will be the first to be reviewed. The focus is not resumes containing the most experience. It's not resumes containing the most education. It's very simply resumes containing the most keywords will be the first to be reviewed. So, why is that, number one? And how do we know we have enough keywords in our resume? Because when we submit online, we all get that auto response email that says resume submission successful, something like that, that lets you know that your resume has gone where you wanted it to go. So let's talk about the importance of keywords, and we're going to talk about it by referring to the robot. The robot is the applicant tracking system. About 95% of all companies nationwide use some sort of an electronic computer software that reads your resume first time. So it's not a human. It is set up by the company or by a staffing agency in terms of here, Kansas Works has an applicant tracking system that searches for your resume using keywords. So if 95% of all companies are using this software, we have to figure out how to use that software to our advantage. Most people who do applications online, which is most everyone nowadays, there's very seldom a place where you can walk in and just hand them a resume, they do a critical error at the very beginning of their application online. And that critical error is not fully reading the job description. The statistic tells us that most applicants spend less than 50 seconds reading the job description. We think of it kind of like winning the lottery. The more tickets we buy, the more chances we have to win. So the more jobs we apply for, the better our chances of getting at least the interview, if not employment. I had a customer that applied for jobs with Sedgwick County. It was the only place that she really wanted to work in the Wichita area. She'd had family that worked there. She knew the pay was good, the work was steady, they had good benefits. She applied for every job that Sedgwick County posted, without regard to whether or not she had the qualifications, whether or not she had the skills, the education that they required for the position. She got a phone call from Sedgwick County and was pretty excited because she thought it was going to be an interview, and the person on the other end of the line says, do not apply for another job with Sedgwick County. You have effectively crashed our applicant tracking system. No one else can apply, and we will never hire you. You have not been reading the job description, which is important, and you should only be applying for jobs that you actually do qualify for. So she was pretty bummed out, but that is the truth. This little robot looks pretty friendly, but in reality, if we are applying for jobs that we don't have the qualifications for, this little guy puts us in cyber trash. And if you do that enough, this little guy can actually put you on a list where you will be red flagged and no applications will get through. You will still get the email that says application submission successful or whatever it says, because that's an auto response from the applicant tracking system. So in order to do what we need to do to get through this part of the process so that we actually get to that first human that's going to read our resume, we have to play the game, and we have to include some things in our resume in order to get past the robot. We're going to talk here in a minute about how to find the key words, but there's some other things that are also very important. You need to put your contact information at the top of the page in a clear spot, not in a header, because again, that would be a formatted box. And you need to include the following: your name, your city, state, zip, one good phone number, and you do not have to tell the robot that it's your email, it's your home or your cell, one good email, Don't need to tell the robot that it's an email because you're taking up extra space on the resume. And please, I would ask you to make it a professional email address, because that's a lot of times what pops up whenever they contact you, because you're communicating electronically. And then third, if you have LinkedIn, I would include that at the top as well. That is a good site to include. So your name, city, state, zip, one good phone number that you will answer, and email, one, and your LinkedIn if you have it. Now the thing that I did not mention was your street address. You don't need that, but you must have your city, state, and zip, because the applicant tracking system tracks us through our zip code. So that must be included at the top. Then at the top of most resumes, you'll find folks usually include a statement. Usually it's called an objective. Well, if you think about the objective, everybody's objective is pretty much the same: to get a job. And no matter how eloquently you write that objective, that is the ultimate goal. That is not a good use of that part of the page. More important would be to list your, what I call, rock star skills or superpowers. 3 to 5 things that would make that employer think, I need to hire this person. So listing those at the top, maybe calling it a summary of qualifications or professional profile, career summary, listing 3 to 5 bullet points, and I will emphasize bullets, not sentences, not a paragraph, but bullet points that focus on those rock star skills. That would be a better use of that space. The first reader, when it actually gets to a human, spends 3 seconds right at the top, and I'll hold up this resume, spends 3 seconds right here. If you don't grab their attention here, they're not going to read any of the rest. They have to see those rock star skills at the top. Next, I would make sure that everything was bulleted. Your education, if you're going to include community involvement and volunteering, bullet that. It makes it look very uniform, very lined up. I would make sure that you justify to the left the same space for all of your bullets, all of your job skills, everything that you list. I would use bulleted lists. And then I would also use the standard fonts. The robot's pretty smart. The robot is programmed to understand things like capitalization, punctuation, formatting. So you want to be consistent, you want to be professional with that. Don't just randomly capitalize a word in the middle of a bullet because you think it is important and it'll get the reader's attention. If it's a job description, be sure that it's capitalized. If it's the formal name of a team of employees or some sort of formal name, be sure and capitalize, but don't just randomly throw in capitalization. A bullet is not technically a complete sentence. It's got the subject implied because you're not using the I, me, or my words. So a bullet does not require a period. However, if you're one of those folks that is compelled to put a period at the end of the bullet, use it every bullet. Be consistent throughout. Don't use it randomly. Commas, semicolons, colons, the robot understands the use of those, so use those correctly. Of course, use spell check, but then also I would remind you to use that second set of eyeballs. Uploading is better than copying and pasting your resume. Uploading, you have a better chance of the actual document that you see being sent. Copy and pasting, you're also going to copy and paste all the formatting text that's behind the formatting language that's behind your text. So it's better to upload than it is to copy and paste. Now, some websites will only take PDFs. Other websites like Kansas Works don't take PDFs at all. So be sure and read the instructions and know what kind of a document will be accepted. And don't frustrate yourself by uploading things and not having it be sent or have it go through or not knowing how it looks when they see it. The robot does not like things like graphics, logos, tables, charts. All of those that we create have hidden formatting language that creates them, and it's just confusing for the robot. Abbreviations are fine if they're legitimate to the occupation, like a nurse would use RN, LPN, ICU, EKG, those kinds, those will be programmed into the software. An engineer will use things like CATIA and CAD. Those things are programmed. But if I was a supervising manager somewhere and I abbreviated manager MGR, that's text language. And the robot doesn't necessarily understand text. So write those kinds of words out. If the job description is looking for a technician, then when you are applying for the job, use the word technician, not the word tech. So don't abbreviate if it's not abbreviated in the job description. All right, next let's talk a little bit about where you find those keywords. Because I mentioned to begin with, the best way to get past the applicant tracking system is to be sure that you include all the keywords. One place that's fine is an employment ad. Online, you can use the ONET online, which if you don't know what that website is, the Workforce Center can direct you toward that website. So there's good language about the words that will be good to create your bullets to edit for your career, for your occupation. But the very best place to find those keywords is in the actual job description, the job that you are actually applying for. So, I know you're probably wondering, does that mean that I have a different resume for every job I apply for? Well, technically, yes. You want to target your resumes, but first of all, that's what we did the master resume for, so that you would have lots of good information to pull from your careers that you've had over the years. Secondly, it doesn't mean a whole new resume. It may mean that you just need to change a few words within the resume. And that sounds like a very time-consuming task. However, there is a really good website that will help you do that. This website is called Wordle, and I did create both of these what's called word clouds. And the word clouds are basically words that you copy and paste into the system, and it pulls those out and gives you a picture of the words that you've used. Now this one up here I created to represent the job description because it's all about work and people and being creative and working outside the box and having clients. This over here I created as my resume. And my resume says that I'm good at fun, I'm cool, I'm awesome, I do exciting things, I'm interesting. So you look at the two, I haven't used any of the same words that are in the job description. So here's the magic of Wordle. The bigger the word, the more times it appears in the document. So obviously work is critically important in this job description. And so I need to edit my resume when I create these documents, and it's very easy to do that. You create them and you save them. You just put your resume on the screen next to the job description and you compare the words. And then you can edit your resume to include some of the words from the job description. That will give you a much better chance of getting past that applicant tracking system with the most keywords. So let's pretend now that your resume is updated, you've got all the keywords in it, and it's gotten past that applicant tracking system. You've gotten the email that says resume submit successful, and now you're waiting for that phone call. The resume then finally goes to that first human that's going to review your resume. In the world of reading resumes, you might think that it'd take maybe a couple minutes to read a resume, maybe 2 pages long. It might take 5 minutes. Maybe somebody that's a fast reader could read it in 30 seconds. Well, there's been some studies done with groups of folks who are HR experts, and they took them into a kind of a lab setting, and they set them down at tables, and they gave them a stack of resumes to read. They put glasses on them that are very much like the glasses that someone would wear after cataract surgery, only the glass was clear and it was connected to computers. The computers would track the eye movement of the reader across the page. So what they did was they got some studies and some statistics about how long that first human takes to review your resume the first time. And the estimate is between 6 to 8 seconds. Now I told you earlier that the reader spends about 3 seconds right up here in the top part of your resume to look at your rock star skills or your superpowers. If they don't see something here that they need or they like, they probably won't read the rest of it. So 3 seconds here means that they're spending another 3 to 5 seconds reading the rest of it. So I have a graphic here that shows a couple of resumes that were reviewed. It looks a little bit like a storm cloud in Kansas, storm map in Kansas. But where the red is where the eye lingered the longest. So these 2 resumes were read during this test. You can see that they glanced at the person's name. This one stopped here and spent quite a bit of time at the very first entry. This one did as well, spent some time there. So that's probably either the most recent job they had, or it could be their rock star skills. And then the purple would indicate that they just kind of glanced down. Now this one stopped their eye here. Not sure, but this looks like a margin over here. They kind of maybe fell asleep with their eyes open, but then they really didn't read any of the rest. This one over here read and scanned all the way down, and they ended up right down here at the bottom, which is usually where we have our education. So my guess is they were trying to see if this person had enough education to support what their claims to fame were at the top. One of the things they didn't look at this one at all in the first glance was what we usually have on the right side justified are our dates. They didn't really pay attention to the dates the first view through. They were really focused just right over here on the left-hand side. This one over here, I believe the reason they didn't read any of this is because it looks like a paragraph. They don't have time in 6 to 8 seconds to read a paragraph. Actually, these are bullets, if you can see them up close, but the bullets were at least 3 to 4 lines long, and 3 to 4 line bullet becomes a paragraph. So you want to keep your bullets to a maximum of 2 lines. So the first human has glanced at these. My guess is this one went in the trash and this one maybe moved forward to the next step in the process. So first review of your resume, 6 to 8 seconds. And I hope that's been helpful. I hope you understand a little bit about how to get that resume to the top of that stack so that you're 1, 2, or 3, you're one of the 3 candidates, 3 to 5 candidates for an interview. And stay tuned, come back, and we will be doing next segments are going to be on conducting a job search, and we'll have 2 parts of that information available soon. Thank you.